we don't actually pay kids to get good grades. We pay kids to put in the effort to meet goals that they have. It's not about getting good grades. And actually, many years ago, I worked with a Harvard professor named Roland Fryer around motivation and incentives for learning. And here's one of the things we found. We went into the Houston Independent School District and we did a few things. We said, okay, let's pay kids for grades. And what we found is that had absolutely no effect on how they did. But when we paid kids to do their homework and turn it in every day, we saw that their grades got better over time. And let me give you the example of this. If I told you, Jay, I'm going to give you $10 million if you go win Wimbledon, what would you say?
I can't win Wimbledon.
You'd be like, as much as you want $10 million, like, I don't know how to win Wimbledon. But if I said to you, Jay, I'm going to give you $10 million if you spend the next 5 years every day going out on the court and practicing and playing and doing drills for 4 hours a day, what would you say?
I'd said, sign me up.
Welcome to the Future of Education podcast, hosted by Mackenzie Price. Mackenzie is the founder of a revolutionary new school model that's disrupting education through AI. Join us as we discuss the latest in education innovation.
We're going to take a quick break. I want to tell you a little bit about one of the programs that I get so much interest in. It's our homeschool program. So if you are interested in our homeschool program, I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. It's called Alpha Anywhere. In Alpha Anywhere, your child doesn't just get by and get academics kind of done in a check the box way. They can crush their academics. They master the material. They're getting the same academic platform experience that our students in school are getting, which means they're able to become confident, masterful learners. In Alpha Anywhere, students are able to learn twice as much in only a couple of hours. And I think so many homeschool people want to homeschool because they know that it doesn't take all day for their kids to learn. And so it frees up the rest of their day. Maybe they're on the road. Maybe they're wanting to travel all over the place. Maybe they just want flexibility. In fact, I saw a really cool video the other day from one of our Alpha Anywhere families who are farming in South Dakota. And they're like, this kid gets to get out and help us out on the farm and spend their day learning life skills that way. So if you are interested in our Alpha Anywhere program, you can go to alphaanywhere.co to learn more about our homeschool program. Now, back to the show. What is the next comment, Jay?
Your next hater says, EdTech has always failed, and this will too.
This is a really great thing to talk about because for the last 15 years, EdTech has been this thing where people have said, oh, this is going to change everything. This is going to change education. And it's never worked. And let me tell you the reason why. There are two things that are needed for a student to learn well. One of them is when you can be placed in the right level and pace of knowledge, academic knowledge. That's a great thing, which some ed tech can do a reasonable job on it. A lot of ed tech doesn't do a great job on that either.
And just to be clear, by level, you mean like the grade level, because like when you're in traditional school, you're just like third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade. But when you say level, sometimes kids go back or higher, whether they're reading or their science. And then the pace means how fast or slow they go.
How fast they go. And there's been a couple things. One is that when you give a kid an app and you say, hey, go hop on IXL, for example, and go through the lessons, kids can kind of waste time on it. They can not engage. They might not even be looking at the app. They could be just randomly guessing. They could decide when something gets hard, they would stop it and go to some other lesson. That's one of the things. And our program actually works through the AI tutor to make sure kids are kind of going through the ed tech lesson at the way that they should. But here's the other thing, and this is something that I think is so important to understand. 90% of what creates a great learner is if you're a motivated student. You have to be motivated, because if you're not motivated to learn, you're kind of out the window. And that's true whether you're in a traditional classroom setting with a teacher or you're using some sort of app-based learning type of thing.
Why it's so hard for teachers, because not only are they expected to get this material, but they have to be entertainers.
Yeah, they have to figure out how to
competing with
motivate.
video games or TikTok, and if they're not more entertaining, the kids zone out.
Exactly. And I think what we have done here is we have worked on focusing on the motivation aspect of learning. And so I believe for us, and we always say this is not just about here's our learning platform and this is what's going to work. I think the secret sauce is the motivation models that we built into the system that our guides are able to implement daily with our students in order to create that motivation. I believe we're getting different results. There's been some ed tech in the past that can work for 5% of students.
Right.
What we're seeing is this is working for the vast majority of our students so far in the system. We've got a long ways to go, but I do think that having that focus on motivation is really critical, and using AI to make sure kids are using the ed tech well.
So what I'm hearing you say is the reason why the ed tech is successful is because of the motivation model that you implement with the guides, part one, but part two is also that the AI tutor makes sure that it's the right level, the right pace. So it's not too challenging, but it's challenging enough. And it also keeps them on track with the way that the systems work. I know that it also, if they dilly-dally around, like it comes up and says, hey, you're dilly-dallying around.
Well, and that's where it gives basically coaching to students where they can go in and see, you know what, when you're not reading the explanation after you get a problem wrong, that's slowing you down. And we actually have something, it's a waste meter that literally shows students, here's the amount of time that you're wasting that you could be kind of learning. And it gives them tips on how they can better engage in the
There's
lessons.
a lot of stuff too that I've heard under the hood that's happening from the AI side that's pretty mind-blowing, you know, that's like next level, like that waste meter. When you hear the science behind all of the stuff that goes into it, and I'm not an expert in it at all, but just how the learning models adjust to each student and what they need to be doing and how long they need to be doing it, how many repetitions they need and all that kind of stuff. You know, it's pretty fascinating how it caters to each student. That's why I think this ed tech is better than all the other ed techs, plus the motivation model, which is factored in. All right, now I'm really putting on the hater hat. I'm really wearing it like full on, because our next hater says that you are a scammer, a grifter, and you are just out for yourself, and this is a big, giant scam.
Ooh, wow. I'm a scammer and a grifter. I feel like grifter is like an old term used in like what the 1920s, like that's a grifter.
Right.
And I remember seeing that the first time on one of the comments, and I was like, huh, that's interesting.
Yeah, what even is a grifter?
I think this is a great time to say the other comments that you've made when you're talking about hater comments, they really are just questions from people who are trying to understand. This one is truly like a hater comment.
A grifter, a person who engages in petty or small-scale swindling.
Swindling, a swindler, huh? Did you know, Jay, that people who are really avid readers often will make mistakes in pronunciation because they've spent so much time reading? And one of the mistakes that I made, I grew up loving to read. I read a lot. I've always been a big reader. But one of the words that I always thought you said was misled. And it turns out it's actually misled. But I always was like, well, I was misled. And I thought misled actually conveys the energy of what's happening.
You're misling me.
You misled me. It's like you misled me. It's almost like swindled. You swindled me. You misled me. And I remember the first time, or not the first time, I remember the first time someone called me out on that. And they're looking at me and they're like, what's the word you're saying? I'm like, misled. And they're like, misled. And then they saw my notes and they're like, misled, Mackenzie? I'm like, yeah. My dad's was determined.
Determined,
determined. Anyways, that's actually a common thing when you see people who, especially young people who mispronounce words. It's usually a sign that they're doing quite a bit of reading. They're coming across words on paper that they don't hear about, you know, in person very often. So anyways, that's one thing. So anyways, being a scammer, people are asking about scammer. Basically, you know what they're saying is this doesn't work. You're trying to take advantage of something. And here's one of the things I believe is we want to be super transparent about the results that we're getting. It's one of the reasons that we publish our MAP results, which are our academic assessments that show that our classes are top 1%. I think that anyone who's doing education should be held accountable to deliver great results, and that's important. I think people also think, well, you're this private school that is, you know, charging tuition to do these things. And here's the biggest thing I will say. This is about delivering our 3 commitments to the students at our schools and having families that are getting experience, kids loving school, learning twice as much in 2 hours and learning life skills. And that's what it is. And so for those of you who, you know, are saying, oh, this is just a terrible grifting thing, you know what else? Time will tell, because as we continue to show results and show that this academic model works and we have happy families.
So not as your hater, now as your producer.
Mhm.
I'm taking off that hat. But I think it's an arrogant thing for people to say, personally, because I feel like I want to say to them, what about all the thousands of families that are loving this and they see the difference in their kids and it's night and day, and they're obviously here in all these schools and they have been, and these schools are very successful. It's just a very arrogant thing to say, like, you don't know. You don't know what these families' experiences are. And you and I hear it and see all the families, and we see the changed lives and the families that go, my kid hated school and it was awful, and now they love school and they're thriving, and there's hundreds, if not thousands. And then you have somebody going, you're a scam. It's like, it's just arrogant.
Well, here's what I actually think is the real lesson from this is that, I'm trying to make a difference and I'm trying to build something in public, and you're always going to have people who are going to lobby weird criticisms or name call or whatever. And this is one of the things, and we teach our students this too, is there's times when you're just like, you know what? You don't have to listen to the noise. You just focus on the goal that you have. And for me, my goal is to impact education and provide a better education experience for millions of kids around the world. And oftentimes it's the people that are just watching from the sidelines that are the biggest critics. And we're here in the arena trying to make a difference.
Yeah. And, they're criticizing because you are making a difference. They don't boo nobodies. Like that's a sports thing. It's like they boo the people that are making a difference. So it's obvious. Yeah.
We'll see.
So this one is also a hater comment is it's too expensive. It's not accessible for other families. So it's just a school for rich kids.
Yeah. I have a lot of empathy for that comment because I think that is true. Right now, the main schools that we have are expensive. And unfortunately, the vast majority of the population doesn't have the option of paying for a private school experience. And they are relying on a public school in order to do this. Here's what I generally believe on that. We are working to create this education model that is going to be successful and deliver on the results that we have promised. We're starting with a population of families that have said, hey, I want to be a part of this and I can afford this price point and this tuition. And what we're doing with those dollars is pouring them into a lot of incredible resources and life skills workshops and paying our guides really well. And the cost of the AI currently is expensive. Now, here's the good news, Jay. The cost of our AI is going to come down over time. I believe in the next 5 years, kids are going to have access to a tablet that for $1,000 a year can teach them everything they need to know. It's going to get much, much, much less expensive. And we're opening up schools at varying tuition price points that can go. So for example, right now, our least expensive in-person school is $10,000 a year.
Right.
So we've got schools that kind of range the gamut from $10,000 a year to $75,000 a year,
and some
which
of the states
is crazy astronomical, but
offer the ESAs, they can do those $10,000.
And that's the thing. In Texas, for example, they just recently passed school choice. So families will get access to about $10,000 per student. And that will mean that some of our schools will be free to attend, or they'll be paying $5,000 in tuition, or a smaller amount. So we're working on doing that. And then, we also have a free virtual charter school in Arizona. Now, a lot of people have heard kind of my travails over the last 2 years of getting rejected in the charter world, which would make this free. But I think people are going to start to come around over time and do this. And so for those of you who are saying this is too expensive, we can't afford this, I totally understand. I absolutely get it. And we're working hard to continue to create more options and enable other people to build schools using this type of model that they can make, more affordable. The other thing that's been really cool, Jay, is that because of the results that we're seeing, we're starting to get more interest from philanthropic organizations that might say, hey, how can we maybe help make this more accessible to more people?
Also, what people don't realize is that you say, okay, one of your schools, that's $25,000 a year. What they don't realize is that the public school system spends a lot of times that much and more. So the public schools are spending that same amount too. It's just not being passed to the parents or the
Yeah.
consumers per se. And I heard you say this once, which kind of opened my mind, is that the public school districts, especially the large ones in the largest areas, they're kind of fudging the numbers on how much they spend on each kid.
They won't count certain things. They don't count some administrative things or building
But they're
costs or
spending that
anything like
money.
that. And so they'll say, this is just what ultimately goes in the classroom. But yeah, they're still spending that money. So
I think right now it's interim period to where you have these schools, and so they're 10,000, they're 25,000, or they're 40,000 or whatever, which is not that far off from what the public schools are spending, but you're giving such a better quality education. So
Yeah.
then it's kind of the interim period to where, as we've talked about earlier, I don't know if it was this podcast, but all of these school districts are calling you to try to figure out how to do it.
we really are at the forefront of innovation in education.
Mhm.
And we're going to get there. And hopefully at some point there will be more widespread adoption to make this more accessible, because we need to. If we're really going to affect the number of students that we want to, we're going to have to figure that out.
Right. Okay. Next hater comment is the incentivized reward model you use, paying kids to get good grades, hurts their natural love of learning.
Yeah, that's a really common thing that I hear. People are always wondering about extrinsic motivation measures versus creating intrinsic motivation, and how do you do that?
Let's just pause for a second. I think it's awesome, but the way the kids have it is they get alpha bucks, to where when they complete their lessons, they get paid in a currency that is actually a really cool thing, and they can save it, they learn how to invest it, or they can donate it, or they can do things, whatever, if they convert it to real dollars, or they can buy prizes depending on their age group, their age appropriate prizes. So it's this whole complicated system, and the kids love it. I've seen them, they love it. So you use that, you basically pay kids to get good grades, and then a lot of people say, well, that's wrong, you shouldn't do that, you're hurting their love of learning.
You know what, Jay? We don't actually pay kids to get good grades. We pay kids to put in the effort to meet goals that they have. It's not about getting good grades. And actually, many years ago, I worked with a Harvard professor named Roland Fryer around motivation and incentives for learning. And here's one of the things we found. We went into the Houston Independent School District and we did a few things. We said, okay, let's pay kids for grades. And what we found is that had absolutely no effect on how they did. But when we paid kids to do their homework and turn it in every day, we saw that their grades got better over time. And let me give you the example of this. If I told you, Jay, I'm going to give you $10 million if you go win Wimbledon, what would you say?
I can't win Wimbledon.
You'd be like, as much as you want $10 million, like, I don't know how to win Wimbledon. But if I said to you, Jay, I'm going to give you $10 million if you spend the next 5 years every day going out on the court and practicing and playing and doing drills for 4 hours a day, what would you say?
I said, sign me up.
Sign you up. And so that's one of the things we learned is it's about creating the habits and putting in the work that gets the results.
Right.
And the paying students with regard to the financial currency we have at Alpha, that's actually a really big part of how we teach financial literacy. We start that at kindergarten. But it's just one of the many motivational models that we use. We do all kinds of other things. Guys will come up with models of motivation where kids get to earn time to go do something. They get to earn team experiences. They get to do all these things. In fact, we have an emporium at our schools where kids can use their alpha bucks to buy stuff in the emporium. We've got all toys, all kinds of things. Do you know what the most popular item in the emporium is? The one that gets bought the most?
Hot Takis.
No. It is lunch with your guide.
Oh, wow.
So kids will save up
That's
to say,
very
hey,
sweet.
I want to buy a one-on-one lunch with my guide, and they get to order in, their favorite thing, Chipotle or Chick-fil-A or whatever, and they get to hang out with their guide.
Yeah.
And that's just one example of so many different things. But it all fundamentally comes down to this idea that people have this very purist notion of people should be just self-motivated to do well. And you know what? For about 5% of the population, that's great. People
Right.
just say, hey, yeah, I want to work well. I want to be diligent. I want to put in the best effort for whatever it is. But what about all those kids who aren't motivated? And the way that is dealt with in the traditional system is just like, oh, well, I guess they're not motivated. And here's what we believe is it's our job to figure out what do we need to do to get kids lit up and excited about learning and going through the process and getting the work done and seeing that there's so much goes into it. Anyone who really is wanting to dive deep into the intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation stuff, there's a bunch of research that was done in the 70s that kind of put out this idea that extrinsic motivation measures would turn off intrinsic motivation. That has actually since been shown to have a lot of flaws in it. And there isn't really a correlation between if you're someone, Jay, who loves practicing baseball, and I suddenly say you're going to earn stickers for every
baseball.
hours you're doing that. What we found is that if you don't get stickers, you still do this. And what we do see, though, is maybe if you're a kid who doesn't love practicing baseball, but you start getting some sort of a reward for doing that, what you start seeing is that practice can make you get better and better. And what we see is as you get better, you start enjoying it more. And then kids get excited. And here's the other thing fundamentally is that when you enable a kid to practice and work at something that helps them get better and start to see like achievement, it changes their identity. It changes the way that they see themselves and what they're capable of doing. And our guides work so hard to find confidence anchors for every one of our students to figure out what is that thing that can be a win for a kid where they've put in work, they've done something challenging, and they've had a win that helps them go, you know what? I can take that same experience and put it into something else I'm doing. And so it's all about motivation. And at Alpha, we are willing to do whatever it takes to get kids motivated and excited.
What I think is awesome too is that there's a spreadsheet that the guides, the teachers have, and it has their students, and then it has what motivates them. Because some of the kids, like you said, will be motivated by a one-on-one lunch with their guide. Some of them are going to be motivated by the hot Takis. Some of them are going to be motivated by more recess time. One of the kids picked out Sambas, like Adidas, the shoes that they got as a gift that they used up their, stored Alpha currency. So it's like the guides know what each student is going to respond to, and that's part of their job. And when I learned that and saw that, and you see like the specific examples, it's really awesome. It works.
And it's not even, material things. If you look at that spreadsheet of what motivates kids, there are kids who say, this kid loves and is excited about getting more responsibility. So when he shows that he gets his academic goals done, he gets to go and be classroom leader for something. Or they love the sense of autonomy and independence. And so one of the things that you'll see in our schools is kids earn the ability to go sit where they want to do their work.
Or go off campus for lunch.
I was in Scottsdale, Arizona a few weeks ago, and it was the cutest thing. There's this adorable little tent that's got lights in it. It's so cute. It's like the sweetest little thing. And there were a couple kids working in that tent. That is a special place where when they hit their goals, it earns them the ability to go do their work in that tent. And there's just things like that. There's so many different ways. And so that's the other part of the motivation measures is they don't all need to be material, cost money, things like that. They can be very simple types of things that I think could be really implemented in a lot of places. And then the other thing to understand about motivation, what we're also fundamentally doing is by allowing kids to be able to get their academics done well in only a couple hours, we're giving them back the best motivation of all, which is time. And so we're saying to these kids, listen, you could sit in class all day and kind of do this, or you could work hard for these 2 hours and then have the afternoons to go do all these fun things. And that gets kids motivated and excited. They're like, you know what? Yeah, I could do this. This would be fun. Whenever I go to visit one of our schools, I ask the kids, how do you like school? And they'll tell me, and then I'll say, what can we do better? What could be better? And this one boy, he says, I don't think it could be better. And I said, wait, could we do like 1 hour learning instead of 2? And I was like, we're working on that. We're probably 2's probably going to be where we're at. But he was excited. And I said, what would you do if it only took 1 hour? He said, more workshops. So he was so excited about the afternoons and what they're doing at school. He wasn't saying, I want to go home earlier. He's like, I want to be at school all day, but I want to go do these other workshops. And we're teaching these awesome life skills in these workshops in the afternoon. And so we're really giving kids back, something wonderful.
Yeah, the workshops are amazing. Okay, so last but not least, hater comments. You are robbing kids of their childhood by forcing them to be dystopian capitalist entrepreneurs and making them grow up too soon in your school.
Yikes. I see that comment a lot, and I think it's really interesting to see how so many people approach society and life. We have kids who are learning these incredible skills like teamwork and communication and financial literacy, and they're doing it by getting to do exciting things like, come up with a business idea and make their own food truck and then work as a team to go, do all the stuff. And people's response is like, that's child labor. It's like these kids are having so much fun and they're so excited when they get to create something and build something and take an interest that they have and figure out, okay, here's how we can make money at it. I just think there's so many awesome skills that kids have. And again, let's compare this with what kids could be spending their time doing, sitting in class just bored stiff,
Right.
or just sitting in class, even if you're not bored stiff, even if school works pretty well for you. What we're doing for kids is we're taking like real life opportunities and we're teaching them these awesome skills. And I think that everybody is excited to learn. It just might not be like learning science, or
Right.
learning math, but there's always something that gets a kid excited. And we find, especially in a lot of our entrepreneurial workshops and those projects, is you get kids who are like, I don't know if I care about academic stuff too much, but wow, what do I need to do in order to work on this? In fact, we have one of our high school students who has always said very clearly, she's like, I'm an entrepreneur. I can't wait to get out in the real world and build a business. And I want to go figure out how to make a difference and make money and all of that. And she's like, whatever I need to do to crush my academics so that I can go spend time working on this business is really exciting. And the other thing I will say on this is we get a lot of attention about some of our capitalist type of things, but how about all the cool projects that our kids are working on, like helping refugees in Malawi with developing life skills or music or art or contributing to their community or creating meals, for homeless people. Like there's so many
Right.
other things we're doing. Kids are getting such a large array of experience here. But I will also say, like, I don't think entrepreneurship is bad. I think it's amazing. And I think teaching kids how to go out and create wealth and make money is also a great thing.
Yeah, a lot of the projects that get the attention are the capitalistic ones, but there's so many other helpful projects. The students pick out their own projects too. So they make these ones that are centered around giving back to the community. Like you said, feeding the homeless, building businesses that can feed the homeless better, or teaching kids to read across the country,
Well, and as
across
part
the
of that
world.
too is when you get back to the financial literacy component, when kids are earning, whether that's earning stuff through their academic work or creating a business, and then we're teaching them the skills of spending, investing, saving, and donating. That's a really important thing. And those are skills that we want our kids to have.
Right. Okay, well, that wraps it up for all of your haters all over the world. All the haters now have all of their questions answered.
Awesome. Well, thanks for that amazing hat. It was super cool to talk to you while wearing that very sweet hat that you had. And again, for anybody who maybe enjoyed this episode, or maybe you said, you know what, I've had that question, I'm not a hater. Don't worry. No love lost. Everything's good. I actually really welcome questions. I welcome criticism. I welcome skepticism because part of anything new that's going to change the world is going to have those questions. And all of this is about educating people on, what can happen. And all of this comes down to just educating people about this new way of doing school that's working.
The future of education.
The future of education. Woohoo! Let's go.
Let's go.
Thanks for listening to Mackenzie Price and the Future of Education podcast. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, now is the time to do it so you can stay up to date on all our episodes. You can connect with Mackenzie on social media and be part of our daily conversation over on Instagram at futureof_education. For more info about the show and our guests, you can always visit futureofeducationpod.com. Lastly, if you're loving what you're learning, please leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. We'll be back in your feed soon, but until then, remember, kids are limitless, and it's our job to unlock their potential.